TV, I'm going to show you that using some old scraps of fur, you can transform them into some designer, multicoloured, patchwork, fake fur or faux fur fabric. Now, my scraps are of completely different shapes and sizes. And at the moment, it doesn't really matter too much. Well, it would be a lot easier if they were all the same shape and size. But I still think it's a waste if we don't use them. So I'm going to try and make a decent piece of fabric that hopefully will look quite interesting with all these different scraps. Now, so long as I stick to a few rules, I'll be okay. Rule number 1, how to cut fur. And it is definitely not with a pair of scissors. It is, trying to cover up the brand, it is with a blade. You can use like a Stanley knife, or you can use a blade like this, but be really careful if you do use a blade like this. Now, what you're intending to do when you cut fur is not cut through the pile. We want to keep the pile as much as possible. So when we cut fur, we only want to cut the back. Now, if you don't have a blade, you can do little snip, snip, snips, but it really takes a long, long time. So look at this, it is like magic. My blade is very sharp, so I'm hardly applying any pressure to cut the backing. So look at that. So when I prise it apart, do you see I've not disturbed the pile at all? So I pull it apart. Now the other brilliant thing is, look, there's no mess. How come they don't do this in fabric shops? Anyway, so look, you can see how the pile is sort of splaying out over the edge. And that's good because that means when we join our fur together, which I'm going to show you how to do soon, hopefully that pile will hide the seam. Rule number 2, you must be attentive to the pile of your fur. Now, what I mean by that is the direction that the fur is going in. Now, the reason why is because look, see how that's hanging down? It's hanging down past the edge of the backing fabric. Now, what that means is if I was to join this piece, see how the pile's going down? If I was to join it that way round, look, there's nothing to hide that seam. Whereas if I join it, so the fur, the pile, is going in the same direction as that one there, we're joining it there on the backing fabric, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. So it's covering up our seam where we joined it. And that means that it then kind of looks like it sort of looks like the fabric was like that. Now, if you haven't got pieces where they go down that are big enough, you can get away with doing it sideways. But do check that that pile will go sideways and cover up your seam. Usually, I'll turn them over so you can see the shape. Usually when you have scraps of fabric, look, they're all different. These are all different sizes, and I'm not necessarily going to use all these pieces, but I'm going to try to use as many as possible. you kind of, I mean, it's up to you, you do what you want, but you kind of want to have in your mind some sort of rectangle or squares, so you can do like different shapes, but have in your mind, you know, like as you go along, that they end up being some sort of square at some point. So this isn't necessarily what I'm going to be doing, but let's just flip it over. So it's when you turn it over and you see the back that you really understand the shapes that you're going to be sewing together and whether it's going to be difficult. Like I can see that that's looking a bit short, so I'm going to take that out and see if I can find a bigger piece, which I probably can't. It's not going to be completely perfect, but you'll see by the end it's quite forgiving. The fact that, you know, you're not putting pieces that are completely straight or, you know, mega square on together. Now I'm just going to cut this piece here. Pull that away. Because if I'm going to have that in there, I think I might want that in there. So at the moment I'm not mad about how there seems to be like a regular pattern here. I don't want that, but let's leave it like that for now. Now I'm going to flip it over so you can see. So this looks kind of rough and not that nice, yeah? But when we turn it over, it looks like we've bought some multicoloured fur. So this is how you would sew your seams if you were doing a sewing project made of fake fur, faux fur. And this is how we're going to do it today. So I'm going to take two of my pieces. Pay attention that my pile is laying over the fur. Flip it back. Push all of the pile out of the way. So it's like parting hair. So I'm pushing that pile out of the way, and then I'm pushing this pile out of the way. Because all I want is that backing stuff. And then when I'm happy that I've pushed it out the way enough, I'm going to raise up the foot a little bit so I can get in there, drop the foot, put the needle in so I can then play around and get all my pile pushed in for the next few centimetres. So we're just like working in little areas. Now do not stretch this as you sew, because it's kind of got like a knitted back quite often, and if you're going across the grain you could stretch it out of shape. So we're on zigzag, okay? All that pile is pushed in. Now what we're going to do like an overcast stitch. People have said to me before, can you use an overlocker? Yeah, you can. A 4-thread overlocker, but really make sure you are capturing all those seams. But yeah, you definitely can use an overlocker. But I know not a lot of people have overlockers, so I'm just going to use zigzag just to prove that you can do it on any machine. So if you struggle starting, start a little bit of a way in and then reverse and go forward. Now I'm going to sew the seam and then show you what it looks like afterwards. But for now, look at what I'm doing. Pushing all that fur out the way, trying to make it that the edge of the backing on the pink and the edge of the backing on the grey-brown stuff exactly meet. And when I'm zigzagging, it's just, I'm on 4.5 in terms of width, It's just that one goes, like you're overlocking, one goes to the edge and then one goes in, and one goes to the edge and one goes in. So I'm going to keep doing that now, and I'll stop talking. So I'm just going to show you a little bit more of that sewing up the seams. So push that pile away, push that pile of the fur away, and we just want to have the backing fabrics touching. And then you zigzag the edge with quite a wide zigzag but close together. And then when you get to the end of the backing fabric, whether it be underneath or on top, mine's stopping there, do go backwards and forwards to close off the seam. So I could just keep going and going and going, but I thought you'd just like to see what I've done so far and how I've joined some pieces of fur together to make up the length or to make up the width. Do you want to have a look at the front? So I think you'll be impressed. So look at that. But we need a hairbrush. So regular hairbrush, brush down the pile. So keep brushing down the pile, and look how all of the fur follicles, what would we call them, how they all sort of blend and end up looking like that. Now that is quite impressive, isn't it? In one of our Christmas videos, I don't know, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we showed you a little bit on this patchwork fur business. So this is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of fur, but it does look like it was meant to be like that. And look, that's the front. Now I wanted to use the fullness of the scraps that we had as a kind of challenge. But if you want to be more controlled about it, make a card template and just cut loads and loads of squares, just as you would with patchwork, but attach them together in rows and then attach the rows together, and then you'll end up with loads of like beautiful furry squares. I think that would be nice. In fact, if you do that, can you somehow share it with me? Email or Instagram or Facebook, I'd love to see that. Now I'm not completely sure what I'm going to do with it. I was just desperate to use up all those scraps. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of paper, which is a pattern to make a teddy bear. And in a video soon, do you want to see how to make a teddy bear, which we already have, but we did it as like a memory bear or made out of fabric. Do you want to see how to make one out of fur? Because it is a bit different to making it in material. Oh, by the way, so this pattern is available from our Etsy page. Comment below, I'll give you the link. So what shall I make out this fur? Should they be short sleeves on a cape or a jacket? Should they be long sleeves on something? Should it be a bag, some sort of bag like that? Comment below and let me know on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. I think I'm back now. So I'll see you again very soon. Bye.